Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Flip those houses.
Flip those houses.
Or is it flip the finances? What is it, Bill?
Yeah, well, if you're driving and you flip something, it's not considered good, right?
Hey, sometimes it feels real good.
Yeah. Road rage. All right, we're on episode number 338. Boy, Peter, you're getting old. Oh, my goodness, you're getting old.
Hey, you're right behind me, Mr. 59 and a half. My IRA will be good very shortly. Come on.
Exactly.
There's some real perks with getting. Hey, my Social Security just went up a couple $100. Yay!
Nice.
Talk about perks.
All right. Today's episode is called Creative Real Estate Audit.
Audit? Oh,
Why aren't you
scared me?
Why aren't you doing deals?
Hang on.
Look, what'd you do? Fall over?
No, I pulled. I hit my mic cord. Yeah, my camera cord. Wham! Wait, start again. What'd you say?
Yeah, creative real estate audit. Why aren't you doing deals? Here's the description. The plague of all creative real estate entrepreneurs is, why am I not doing deals? Or enough deals to sustain my desired lifestyle? To the point that this question is actually mentally harassing you day in and day out. Some have even accepted this existing condition as inevitable and toss off the belief that they can do it. Or settle with, that's life. Which, of course, is just an overwhelming attitude for most. The feelings of the reality about possibly charting out their ideal life and achieving it. What if I told you today we're going to show you how to turn this around very easily? Only because the root cause is always for a couple of reasons. And once you know them, you can revert to doing amazing deals often. What if there was a way to audit, inspect, or look over very simple reasons why you're not making deals, and then quickly remedy them? Imagine what that would do for your financial future and freedom to live your life the way you choose to. We do it all right here in the next 60 minutes. So tune in now for the full disclosure.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sounds like quality assurance to me.
Sounds like places we've all been, huh?
Or maybe we're there right now.
Well, maybe. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so let's do our housekeeping stuff. So inside the description, there is a link. I will apologize. The service that I've been using for some years has been having trouble with links. So if you go on a link and it doesn't work, just send me a support ticket and I'll send you the raw link. Because today I put a raw link in there so we don't have to use some cloaked link, which is easier because they're shorter and stuff like that. So if the link doesn't work, then just send me a support ticket and I will send you whatever materials or whatever I'm promising you to get, okay? Also, we record this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. It's kind of an unusual time. You may not be able to come here because you're working. But if you do want to watch us or if you do want to participate in the podcast, you can go to Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and in whatever comment boxes or ways that you can respond to the video, just you can type in there, and I have a screen in front of me so I can answer your questions. We try to answer questions pertaining just to the podcast. If you have other questions than that, then there's two things you can do. You can go to WhatsApp Messenger and look for Let's Talk Real Estate. Is a group that we have, which is a social group that a lot of investors, including my coaching clients, are in. So there's always a lot of help there. Or you can go to Flipping Houses for Rookies and hit the support button on the top right-hand side, and you can send me a support ticket myself personally. I answer all of them, and I will respond to you there. Okay. Lastly, make sure you yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
Like us?
Yeah, like us, and that's not what I'm thinking. Oh my goodness, I just went blank. How could that happen? Old age, I guess, huh?
See, it's karma. You pick on me. See what happens?
Yeah, well, we're going to go back. What I'm trying to say, subscribe to us. That's what I'm trying to say. Make sure you subscribe to us, and you like us, and you leave us a comment. Okay? So here we go. Here's the podcast. The podcast. Did you get that podcast?
The podcast.
Today's very important question. How much is it costing you to not do a real estate deal?
Oh boy, that's a dirty question.
$3,000, $5,000, $10,000. An actual answer by survey with a lot, thousands of emailers. You're gonna. I've mentioned this before, but you're not gonna believe this, Peter. The number one answer is $1 million. How much is it costing you to not do a real estate deal? The average answer by survey from people that are listening to us right now, because they're on my email list.
Yep.
And I also run, I help to develop Creative REI Reply, which is connected to REI Reply, and we've surveyed all that. The number one answer with thousands of emails is $1 million. And you know what? Having done this for as long as I've done this, $1 million is a shoddy number.
I knew you were going to say that. It's low.
The point is that when you're coming from zero, $1 million looks like a lot. But when you've done millions and millions of dollars, I think last time I looked, and this has been before the pandemic, I think I figured that I had done $50 or $60 million in transactions, if not more. I mean, that was just a guesstimate based on some of my deal jackets and right. And I'm not bragging about that, but I'm just saying it's not hard. That's the point. You know what's hard? What the hardest part is?
What?
Doing your next step.
Yeah. Well, that's all you ever have is the next step. You know?
So this leaves us with the next vital question, Peter.
Yes.
Why exactly am I not doing deals?
Oh, that's a loaded question, Mr. Hawthorne. Why?
So in my estimation, this is total Bill's Planet. This is my opinion. This is not some book I read. This is not something, it's just from my own observation with working with students, coaching clients. And you know, because you're on the coaching calls, and I have another guy that I do coaching for. You know, I do a couple coaching calls a week. You know, I'm dealing with people. You know, I have my own deals I do. I have two partners, you and one other guy. I actually have three partners in another company. So, and it's all real estate related.
Yeah.
And I've simplified it. And how do I simply fix, or you should ask yourself, how do I simply fix it without totally disrupting my life? Right? So the question is, why exactly am I not doing deals? Whether it be your first deal, or you did one deal and haven't done another, you did three, the economy changed, and now you haven't done any more. There's a multiple scenarios on how this could be.
Yeah, but just like the next step, we're all saying, where's my next deal? Right? It's just,
Right.
we would just want the next deal. And as soon as you get that, we'd all be happy, you know?
Right. Exactly.
All those steps that lead
So,
up to it. So what do you
Why
got,
don't you
Bill?
ask yourself why exactly am I not doing deals? And then the next thing that you subconsciously think you may not be fully articulated in your head, in other words, you haven't put words to it, is how do I simply fix it without totally disrupting my life? So let's start off with a few reasons, and they're just 3 as far as I'm concerned. A few reasons deals don't get made. Then we'll go into why you aren't doing these few important ingredients. And at the end, I'm going to give you a checklist, like a little checklist to like unstick you.
That sounds
So
good.
here-
You need something. You know, you get too much in your head on these things. And I should, and maybe tomorrow I will, and then I'm gonna. But boy, when you write it down, you look at a couple of lines with a blank next to it, you got to put a check mark on. That really does help.
Number 1, not enough outflow. Or contacts with sellers about selling. I'm going to tell you that is the number 1 reason that you are not making a lot of money. You're making any money. That is the number 1 reason you're not contacting enough sellers. You're not outflowing. Outflow begets inflow. It's a natural thing, right? If you empty the ocean, something else would go in there. Just because there's not water in there doesn't mean that there won't be more water when it rains again,
Yep.
right?
It's like a room that you try to empty.
Yeah.
You empty a room out. Oh, we finally cleared out that room. Look back in 3 weeks, and it's all loaded up with crap again.
Yep. Right. So nature just doesn't like a vacuum, doesn't like a blank space. It likes to fill it up,
Yeah.
right? So if you do enough outflow, we're going to talk. If you do enough outflow, something's going to come back in,
Yep.
right? So number 1, the reason why you're not doing deals, not enough outflow or contacts with sellers about selling. Number 2, Peter,
Yes.
is unbalanced offers. That means you're too low, seller's too high.
Yeah.
And you haven't figured out how to connect the dots.
Yep.
We call that deal structuring. Number 3, no or low follow-up is being done. Okay, podcast over.
Thanks so much. See you next week.
Thanks for stopping by today. All right,
Tune in next week for more mystery.
my bad humor. Now let's kick into why these 3 points go out with each person.
Okay?
Then I'm going to go over the checklist once we're done with this. So what I've done is I've taken all 3 points and I've added 3 main reasons for each point why you can't get that point in. Okay, so like outflow or none at all, which is the common one.
Yeah.
The first reason for lack of outflow is dun, 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 dun.
Drum roll.
This is a huge confront for you, listener. Life is distracting you. You don't believe this statement. You don't live by this statement. You don't die by this statement. We do creative real estate to handle life. We don't handle life to do creative real estate. Creative real estate is not made to learn, it's made to do. So I'd like to take 1 second and explain that, Peter. What does that mean to you? When I say that to you, creative real estate is not made to learn, it's made to do. What does that mean to you? It has a very specific definition to me, and I want to just make sure, I want to hear your perspective first.
Well, you know, being with you and working with the students and being at meetups and the coaching calls, I have seen a lot of people who study, so they're ready for whatever comes up, and they study and they study and they study. And I don't think you can ever get ready enough to be ready for whatever comes up, because it's not that pat. Everybody you talk to can be a little different. So it's actually easier to just start doing it than trying to get ready to do it. Never get off the runway. And I think you can learn as you go. I mean, you have some different phrases that you've come, but you're learning as you go. And you learn what you need as you go.
That's what I was afraid of. So you're 100% correct, but that is not what I mean when I say that. Mm-hmm. Because it occurred to me when I said that some other place, I'm like, maybe I should explain that a bit.
Sure. So what do you mean?
Real estate is not to learn, it's to do. Mm-hmm. The most valuable thing that I ever figured out, and you know where I figured it out, is to do your next step. That's the problem, is you can't study your next step until I say to you, Peter, are you willing to sell the house for blah? Mm-hmm. Until I do that, I don't know what my next step is. Mm. So how are you going to study that if you don't know what it is?
You're right. I have had many times when I have a house that I'm looking at, and we're going to go look at it maybe, and you don't want me to tell you what I think is going to happen, because we don't know what's going to happen until we talk to the person. So all you want is like basic data, and start from the beginning and just see what happens with the person. Because, he's going to do this and he's going to do that. We don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
You got to ask what's happening.
So I just got done telling you that I have made some decisions because I did a webinar last night. It didn't go so well. Mostly because because of my dad, right? So the point is this. I decided, this is my what do you call it? My going out in a blazing glory.
Okay.
I created a course. It's not a course. I created a system that's called, and I don't. This is, I'm way off script right now. We're going to do this, and then I'm going to say this, and then we're going to keep moving because we got a lot to cover. I created a course last night, which I released last night. It's called How to Make Your First $5,000 in Creative Real Estate. Mm. It's not a course. It's a checklist. So the reason why I'm doing that is because your next step is the thing on the checklist. So I give you the checklist, and then I give you a lesson for each checklist so you know what to do on each section. Ah. That's how you do real estate, is you follow the checklist and do each section as you're doing it. So you do your next step. And all creative real estate deals, but all creative real estate deals are done the same way. There's variance and there's parameters, well, let's put it this way. What does creative real estate mean to you, Peter?
Well, there you go. Creative. Creative means you have to kind of make something out of thin air, in a sense. You have to create something. The person says blah, 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 and you have to think, well, what would help the person with his situation right now? And you have to create something that could help them.
A misnomer, actually. Because technically the difference between real estate and creative real estate is real estate, you're buying and selling the house. Mm. Like, you buy an ugly house, add value by fixing it up, and then sell it. Right?
Right.
You're buying and selling the house. You add value because you had the money to pay cash, and then you can sell it again. Or you buy it, pay it down, and then sell it again. So the value is all in the house.
The material itself.
You're buying and selling the physical, we call it the edifice, the property, the house itself.
Yep.
Creative real estate, we're not buying and selling the house. We're buying and selling the paper that controls the house. Like the mortgages and options and land contracts and owner financing. So basically, creative real estate means, which is a misnomer, we shouldn't really use this language, means that you're dealing with the payments and the equity of the property. Right? So because of that, there is no way to really comp it because the payments are different, the situations are different, the property. So there's a lot of variables there, right? What is the seller willing to do? How much are the payments? How much is the duration of those payments? Does it need repairs? Are the payments behind? There's all these variables to the money that's attached to the property. And we're working in that element of the money to control the property. The property to us, as a real creative real estate investor, the property to us is a way for our seller to give us a deal because they don't want it anymore. But more importantly, it's a way for the buyer to come to us and let us use our paperwork to make money with it. We're making money with money like the bank does. That's what the bank does. The bank is not in the real estate business. The bank is in the money business. So creative real estate is the money business. So there's a lot of variables.
You know,
so creative real estate is paying monthly. That's what it is.
You know what it made me think of when you said the value add in a flip house type thing is in the material, in the physicality of the house itself. Then it made me think, oh, well then the value add is in any of those steps, all the things you just said.
Right.
There's value add, like you talk to a seller who's disgusted with his house and he's stressed out. The value add is the relief he gets from not only having to deal with the house. The value add he gets is, oh, I can get a little bit more money if I wait. Oh, that's good. Oh, I don't have to talk to the tenant anymore. Oh, but it made me think, what's the value add in the financing and in the structuring?
I cannot explain this enough. I just bought a house from a family member. That family, and I thought I did a shitty job because I don't feel like I'm stealing the house from them, but I know there's a lot of problems. You know, there's $20,000 or $30,000 worth of problems.
Yeah.
And I couldn't give them everything they wanted, so it's like, this is the best I can do. Yeah. I have heard from that person at least a half a dozen times, oh my God, I'm so glad you bought that house from us. Yeah. I'm so relieved. I'm so glad we don't have to deal with that. I was so stressed about that house. And I had a motivated seller, and because they're really close to me, I didn't know they were a motivated seller. It didn't even click to me like, hey, there's a motivated seller. I'm just doing it trying to help them.
Yeah.
And ended up with a deal.
Yeah.
Right? So let's go back to the podcast. So outflow, low or none at all. Life is distracting you because you don't believe we do creative real estate to handle life. We handle life to do creative real estate. So what you need to do is it's not like you need 30 hours a week. You need like a half an hour. Talk to one seller. Text one person. That's it. Just start. Do something. Go on Facebook Marketplace. Go onto the rent section and message 25 people. And I know I'm crude as hell. I'm sorry for being crude. But when you're on the crapper in the morning or in the afternoon or whenever you do it, take your phone and one message one person. Would you a person that's in Marketplace looking to rent? And the sentence should be, would you be willing to rent for a year or two and then sell to me? Then copy that message and paste it in 25 other messages. Something will happen.
Yep.
Here's what happens. The reason why life is distracting you is because most often this comes down to passion, necessity, and time management. If you're not passionate enough and your necessity level is too low, in other words, it's not do or die, because what's happening is your life, like your other income, the income that you live off of, is distracting you, or your kids, or your parents, or a hobby, or something else is distracting you. Usually what happens is, as I find, people that have jobs are so stressed out about their jobs, they need 40 hours a week to work their job, and then you need another 30 hours a week to decompress.
Yeah.
So they're going off and doing fun things like bowling and watching TV and going to the cigar shop or whatever they do. They're trying to decompress. instead of being
Right. But that's awful short term, though, because Monday morning shows up.
right.
When, of course, they should sit and think, how do I get out of this? Oh,
Right.
I should sit and make a few phone calls tonight or Saturday morning to get out of this.
Right. Just one phone call. So listen to this. I personally, and you know this, and then we're going to move on because we spent too much time on this. I personally evaluate people in my own mind with this tool. Are they more about comfort or accomplishment? Which way do they lean? If it was all the way to the left is comfort, all the way to the right is accomplishment, there's a sliding scale, and where do they fall?
Yeah.
And I have many family members that are about comfort. They are distressed because they have to work 40 hours a week, and they're totally uncomfortable with it, and they need to decompress.
Wow.
Second reason why low or no outflow is happening. You don't have or feel like you have enough leads. So in podcast number 337, we covered this point about leads, but it really comes down to your intention. Really comes down to your intention. And I've run phone rooms, like what do they call it? Phone rooms where people like dial
Boiler rooms?
Boiler rooms. I've actually run a few of them, and I've seen this. I've trained people to do that, right? Definition of intention is your aim, something you not only plan to do, but fully expect it no matter what. So not only do you plan to do it, but you expect you just know there's no way you're not going to get it.
Yep.
Right? Kind of like our society talking about the entitlement class of people. Like the entitlement people feel that way. They're just going to get it.
Yeah.
I deserve it. I'm just going to get it.
No, Bill, it's their right.
Right?
They have a right to everything.
Exactly. So this may sound simple, but when I'm coaching, I find this one point either allows my students to accept stopping or not. A huge mindset for most. So what's your
stopping? You mean quitting?
Yeah.
Whoa.
They accept it. They accept it because their intention is low. Their purpose is low. Their necessity is low. Right? They allow it to happen. They make excuses. Oh, I don't have any leads. You know what? Guess what? You need one lead to make a deal. One. You need one. You don't need a list of them. You need one. Your next step is to find and call that lead.
Yep.
Third reason for no or low outflow. You're looking for a new gadget. Or why to mass communicate to sellers without confronting them yourself. We're going through this again. We went through this a few years ago in my office, and we're going through it again right now, you and I.
Yeah.
And you're much better at it than I am because I get too distracted. I'm writing this as it was for me because right now I'm not doing deals because I'm too distracted.
Yep.
With everything else, right? Whenever you go back to basics and just call sellers and talk to them, we do deals, more deals. Just go do basics. Talk to one person.
Yep.
One person. Okay? And all you need to talk to them about is 4 things. What's the price? What's your best price? Are you willing to take payments? If you are, how much are they? And what's the duration if you let me take payments? Oh, you don't want to take payments? Okay, how much of a discount can you give me? And at that particular point, you probably would just do an option deal and bring them all cash. If they say they want all cash, so what? Do an option agreement. Just get a 10% or 12% or 15% discount, which is what they would spend to have a realtor do a deal with them anyways.
That's right.
Let me give you a quick example. $200,000 house. You get a 10% discount, which is cheaper for them to do with you than a realtor because with a realtor, it'll be more than 10%. So if they're buying a house, if they're selling a house for $200,000, that means they're lucky. They're very lucky if they get $180,000 at the closing by the time everybody takes all their fees.
That's right. And if they don't believe it, you can show them on Zillow lately, because most of the houses have closing costs. And it gives 11%. And I see plus $6,000 for some repairs, do something.
Right.
So 11% plus $6,000. That's an average.
Right on Zillow.
That's right on Zillow. And it says $33,000. The number's right there. It's not just the realtor.
So here's my point. You got a $200,000 house. You get them to sign an option with you for $180,000. That means you got 30 days to go, or 60 days, or 90 days, whatever you decide. Now realize, a realtor would ask 6 months. You're asking for 30, 60, or 90 days.
Right.
Right? You're asking for half the time a realtor would ask. You go market that house. Now you've got an option for $180,000. You go market that house. You put it on for sale on Zillow or on Marketplace for $185,000. Now all the other houses are selling for $200,000. You're advertising for $185,000. You sell the house for $185,000 if you don't get a bidding war. You sell the house for $185,000. You got to pay your seller $180,000. You just make $5,000.
Yep. With
a seller that told you they want all cash. And you're like, where do I get the cash from? I don't have $180,000. No. You go get it from your buyer.
Yeah, where's the realtor get it? They pull out the checkbook?
Right.
Wait for the buyer.
Just get the basics. Stop dinking around in your head. It's in your head. The worst real estate I have to deal with is between your ears. Okay, let's move to number 2. Unbalanced offers. So first, most think they need to answer for everything. They need an answer for everything. And the seller says, so let me do this again. So that most people think they need to have an answer for everything that the seller says. So they think they look smart and want to impress the seller when working with the student. Now, back in the day, I think that was correct. When I first started, that was definitely correct. Because the way it worked is, it was all, first of all, back then it was different. The internet has screwed everything up. Because what it used to be is we would send mail, we would have newspaper ads, we would, leave business cards in Home Depot, on the floor, $100 business cards,
Signs.
What happened is people would call us.
Yeah.
We'd outflow, they would call us.
Yep.
And here's what happened. They would call us and we would qualify them. We would go through the prospect suspect list. We'd find out about the house, their situation, and all the prospect suspect thing call did was, should we go out and look at the house?
Yeah.
Then we sat in the house for 90 minutes and we tried to buy it. Now, that is the old way. Nowadays, we don't do that. We text people. We have the internet. We do social media. We do all these different things, videos, and we're contacting the people directly. Hey, you want to sell your house? Because the media has changed. The devices to do that.
Yeah.
So here's what happens. Because of that, most people think you're a scam. Okay? Because there's a lot of people doing it. There's a lot of people doing it that I did this on a coaching call the other day. I'm going to tell you right now. You want to be superior in your area? You want to be like the guy that everybody sends deals to? You want to know how you do that, Peter?
Yeah.
Call someone and talk to them. Because most real estate investors, most people don't do that. Or they have a VA doing it. They don't do that. Now watch this. You call the guy up and he's like, "Hey, I got 5 people like you calling me a day." And all you need to say to that person is, "Really? I'm sorry to hear that. How many offers have you gotten?" And he will immediately humble and say, "None."
Yeah.
So call someone and give them an offer. Even if it's a bad offer, if it's a wrong offer, even if it's, how much do you have to help? What would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And they say, I need $200,000. Okay, good. So you send me a support ticket, or you go wherever you're going to go, or RIA, or you go, and you figure out, that's your next step. Figure out how you can make that deal work. That's a whole lot better than trying to shuffle through a list or watching a video on what to do. Now, here's my point, and then I'm going to get off this because I'm worried about time today. If you're going to try to close someone in an hour, or say 90 minutes, you have to be clever. You have to have a lot of answers. But nowadays, even me, you don't close deals in 90 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 3 months. It takes me 90 days. Because you have to cultivate the seller, and there's just things that happen. The world is a different place.
Yeah, I find some people in the beginning, they think they don't need you. Like, nah, I'm fine. And then a couple of weeks later, they're calling you back because things aren't working as good as they thought it would be. They get humbled a bit. Then you kind of pick it up again. So, yeah, it can be a little bit of back and forth.
The best thing in the world that anybody could do with a seller is say, gee, I don't know how to do that. Let me call you back tomorrow. I'm going to go. I have a partner, I have a friend, or I have a mentor, or I'll call you back and give you an answer. Then they know you're being honest.
Yeah.
So people are worried about looking professional. It's actually the wrong thing to do. You need to be sincere. I don't know how to do that. This is my first transaction, so I need to go talk to my lawyer, or I need to go talk to my accountant, or I need to go talk to my mentor, and they'll be like, okay, because they know you're working for them.
Yeah.
So knowing everything it's actually hurting you. That's why you got to do real estate. When you do real estate, what you need is a safety net so that when you do the real estate, you don't get stuck with a deal because that's what you're worried about. And if you just work with lease and options in the beginning, that is your safety net. You cannot get sued. You cannot have a problem. That is your safety net. It is no risk real estate. And when you do that, then you're able to go through a few transactions, see how they work, get a feel for it, know what sellers say, know what buyers say, know where the hiccups are, and learn for a $100 deposit.
Yeah, it's because it's a lease. You don't have the deed in your name with all those responsibilities.
Right.
The last deal I was working on was just a lease. I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, but it actually never worried me. I slept every night. I did a few things. It actually didn't work out in the end. The market shifted on me right then and there, and the prices dropped so bad, like there wasn't enough room in the house. So I gave it back to the guy.
Yep.
It was like, okay. And I learned so much from that. I'm so glad I did that.
Yep.
But I never had to worry. I wasn't on the hook.
Right.
I learned a lot of really good things.
So that's awesome. So this false or fixed idea that you need to know everything or you need to study something, well, actually, by survey, that same survey I was telling you about where they say, how much will it cost you to not to do a deal? And they said $1 million. That same survey, I was blown away with how long have you been doing real estate without a result?
How long, Bill?
Decades was
God.
the number one answer. The number
But how
one
are
answer.
how are they still sitting there bothering?
No results.
Go get a job at the drugstore.
10 years, 7 years,
God.
8 years. It's because they have another job and they have other intentionists in their life. Something else is taking their time.
I'm just surprised they keep poking at it still.
They're not serious enough. Look, all you need to do with a seller is find out the price, the payments, duration, and down payment if they ask for it. You get those 4 numbers, you can go anywhere to anybody, me, you, anybody who knows how to do a deal, and you can figure it out. Right? I've given you my calculator, my paper calculator in past. I think last week that's what I gave away, or in
I think so.
337.
Yeah.
The paper calculator does exactly that. Look, if you sign a 30-day option with somebody, and you bring a house to the market and you go find out what your buyer can give you or is willing to give you by survey, because it's not just one buyer. You have multiple buyers calling you, giving you offers.
Yep.
You go back to your seller and say, here's how much I can buy it for because this is what the market is willing to do. What risk is that?
But Bill, that's the same thing the realtor does. Oh, I can get you 280. And then 2 weeks later, it's too high. We got to drop it to 260. And then 3 weeks later, you can go online and look at the price history of a house, right?
Right.
And that's what the realtor does. They just come up with a number. But, it's the same opportunity. It's up to the market. It's not up to the seller, and it's not up to us. It's up to the buyer. So this is a great idea. If you're not sure, just check it and test it and get your feet wet that way.
So we're talking about unbalanced offers, and we've actually moved into my scenario number 2. which is exactly right. So bring it to the market and find out what's going on. So if you don't know the market and you're not sure, then just sign an option agreement. And oh yeah, by the way, you do that with 1 or 2 houses, maybe 3, but usually with 1 house. You'll know what that neighborhood is. So when you're working in that neighborhood later on, you all of a sudden became an expert because you know what the seller's willing to do, because you're going to hear all kinds of stuff from your sellers. I'm sorry, from your buyers.
Yeah.
From your buyers.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to tell you about, they're going to find shit you have no idea even. Oh, there's a crack on the foundation. There is? Oh, the grass is bluegrass and I want yellow grass. I mean, you're going to find out things you had no idea even existed in real estate. But the education is phenomenal for a $100 deposit.
Well, you have to figure, how am I going to sell this stuff, right?
Right.
So how about just taking a kind of a practice run at selling it? And maybe you actually sell it.
Right.
We haven't talked about this in a long time, but the very first thing I did many, many years ago, when I knew nothing and I had too many things to figure out, you said, just go try something. I just got on the phone and called some for sale by owners to practice. Yep. I just needed to see what it's like and what I need to say and just practice. And then in a few phone calls, we were in a house looking at it. You were shocked.
Right.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've sold frozen meat on the phone. So I can go. I sold frozen meat when I was young. Anyways, if nothing else, practice.
All right, so that brings me into the third point of an unbalanced offer. And this is the salient point. In fact, I've been talking about this, and I'm not getting very much traction with it because people aren't listening. But I'm telling you, it's right under their nose, and they don't know it.
Yeah.
Most rookies have never seen an entire process and details of a creative real estate deal. And they don't know when it comes off the rails.
Wow. So
if you've seen an ideal process, if you've seen, this is what I'm supposed to do, and now you go and do it, and something's not right, there's some outpoint, or there's some variation, or there's something different, you won't know that it's different. You won't spot it. Right?
Yeah. Sure.
Like, for example, a professional swimmer will see another swimmer and say their stroke is off.
Yeah.
Here, you know how I learned this? Well, I've learned it. This is where I've set myself in concrete with this. Tabucky Jones played for the Patriots.
Yeah.
I think he was a tight end. I'm not good with football. Okay, he was in the NFL league for 10 years and won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
This guy is the epitome of an athlete. I will sit there with him and 2 other guys that are very, very sports and very sports oriented, smoking cigars, and they're watching footballs. And I kid you not, it is the most incredible thing, Peter, that you will ever witness in your entire life. The ball leaves the quarterback's hand and they call the play.
That's crazy.
They call the play. They call the plays before the referees.
Wow.
But Tabucky played the game. He knows the ideal scene. He knows what you're supposed to do on the field in that scenario. Like, this person moved too quick. He should have went to the left, not to the right. This person did that. And he sees it all and instantly knows that somebody did something wrong. Right? So creative real estate investors are taught from people like me, hopefully not me, but other gurus, abstractly, meaning that in your mind only. There's not like a physical way to look at it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to study tractors, and you go look at a tractor, and you drive the tractor, and you move the tractor around. Now you go study it because you know what a tractor is.
Yeah.
Right? So the only way to do this is to not follow somebody like me around and watch me, because that's what you think. You should watch me. If Bill, I'll come work for you for nothing. I just want to do a couple deals, see how you do it. Well, they don't realize that they're more trouble than they're worth, right? Because they're making mistakes, right? So the point is this. If you do exactly what I'm talking about, if you sign an option agreement, just like what we've been talking about, it gives you the chance to go through the transaction and see what it's like. Right? You want to learn how to do. You want to be a Class A plus person on the phones. I'll tell you how to do it. I'll tell you how to do it. Go sit in the house with a seller once. Just go sit in the house with a seller. How many times have we been on the phone? Have you been on the phone and tell me you got this hot prospect and we get to the house and we're there 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that'll never happen again. I should have asked this. I should have asked that. I should have asked this. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3, now it doesn't happen anymore because you know I'm not, because you had to get me there. You had to get you there. We had to get another person there. We had to orchestrate with the seller. It took you an hour or took you all this time to get everybody together. And in 5 minutes, the guy's like, there's no way I'll do that.
That's right. And I think the principle there is, because I've seen this in other jobs, when you do this, when you do step 3, you've got a better idea how you should have done step 2. When you do step 7, it's clearer how step 6 should have gone to get you to 7. So every time you keep moving, so there might be 10 steps in what we do in real estate, and if you can't get all 10 steps, get as far as you can. If you can get
Peter,
the whole way, go for it.
How many times has my granddaughter crapped in her diaper before she realized she needs to go on a toilet? I mean,
Bill,
really,
I don't know the actual number, Bill.
But you understand, it's that simple. How many times have you had sex before you realized how to do it?
No comment.
How many times did you talk before you could put a sentence together?
Yeah.
How many times did you have to read a book before you could figure out to read? You think this is any different?
No, but I think what makes this more complex for people, not complicated, but complex, is the number of steps. So just get as far in as you can, and you'd be surprised you get to the end. But but you'll learn further and further. You get to step 3, then you get to step 5, you get to 7, bang, 4th try, you make it all the way to the goal. Look at football. You get 4
Exactly.
you get 4 tries to get first down, you know?
Yeah, well, football is, I'm going to leave it there. They practice so much, it's reflexes.
Yeah.
That's what football is. Football is
I'm
not,
like that.
Those guys are like that because they're reflexes. They're not playing the plays. They've played the plays on the fields and scrimmage games so much that they're just responding. In an NFL
Well, I
game.
have that reality in music. When I'm teaching, I put a song on, and I already know what the next chord's usually going to be. I'm ahead of myself. I'll sit there writing it like this as it goes, but that's reflex and training and training and training and training. Right. Repetition. Nothing like repetition, so repeat.
All right, let's move on. Number 3, follow-up. This used to not be as important as it is now with the internet. So about 35 to 40% of our deals come from follow-up, especially today. It is the only way to prove you're not a scam. And life changes everything. Time changes everything. You know, it's like my old story. I don't tell too much anymore. It's like I'm in a house in Meriden, and I'm trying to buy a house, and the guy like, "Are you nuts? Why would I even do that?" Right? Like, and he practically threw me out. 2 months later, 3 months later, whatever it is, my phone's blown up on a Friday. It's like, who the hell's calling me? He called me like 10 times, right? And I'm exaggerating, but I finally answered the phone. Yeah, here's what happened. He found his wife in bed with his best friend on Friday night. So now all of a sudden the house is for sale, right? So, I mean, it's a crude example, but time changes everything. So if
that's
you're not
true.
in follow-up,
I've heard you say that. That's true. It happened. It's true.
Right, and so a follow-up. So obviously, so we'll leave it at that. So the second point there is, so you have to realize that 35 to 40% of your deals come from follow-up. Okay. Second, every real marketer or any marketing book I've ever read that has any weight to it, and you know me, I go back to the 30s and 40s with marketing and all. I mean, I'm a freak about all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Every good marketer book or every good marketer and book I've ever read always says most recipients of the marketing pieces or the marketing message don't hear the marketing message or see the marketing message until your 5th to 8th time. So sending one message or putting out one sign isn't enough.
Yeah.
So if you send out one or two messages by text, it's not enough. So you have to have follow-up. Our follow-up system is 9 months long. 9 months and 1 week. You have to have that. Third point on follow-up is follow-up must be automated. Nowadays, it is an absolute must. You cannot, listen to me, you cannot. And I have a coaching client that does this manually, and he does a shitty job because it's manually. There's no way humanly possible to effectively do follow-up, which is the main reason why I built, and I didn't build it, I have 3 other partners, but the reason why we built Creative REI Replay, because there is nothing on the market to date that does creative real estate and does the follow-up like the way we do it. And I'm not trying to sell you a Creative REI Replay, but I am telling you it's all done for you there. You know, we put leads in your system, and they go through 9 months worth of talking to them by text.
Yep.
And we're changing that because I want to add things like direct mail. I mean, for pre-foreclosure, you're working on it more than I am, but I want to do pre-foreclosure. I want to do letters and postcards and yellow letters, and all that's going to be in there over the next year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's follow-up. Okay, so there is no way in today's society, because of the internet and because of software, that you could do an efficient job of follow-up without automating it. Just can't be done. So don't even try. Right? So follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. If you're not doing follow-up, you're giving away 40% of your business. Okay?
Yep.
So hopefully this helped so far.
Mm-hmm.
Has it? Has it helped you?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, we were talking Monday on the coaching call about follow-up. It dawned on me that I personally wasn't watching the follow-up as much as I normally do. And I realized our system has it built in, but I wanted to think about and talk to you later off this, just what's a good way to make sure, like if somebody says, please don't bother me, in 3 months I'll come back, just a way that our follow-up, and we can go over that later, but just I wanted to be
it's
more observant
funny
of it.
you say that, because I have something stuck in my head, which this is not the place to talk about it, but my partner Sean, we have this Creative REI Replay, and in there we have the whole marketing thing. We put leads in your account every day for you. Right, we put leads in there. We hook them to the campaigns. We automatically text them, and you go in there once a day and just respond to the text.
Yep.
Then once you get it, and then there's a calculator in there to tell you which deal you can do and which deal you can't do, and you push a save on the calculator, and it automatically generates the paperwork, and you send it to the customer.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Then once you get the deal, you go into the training section, right? And you go into the training section, and the training section has checklists. It's not really training, it has checklists. So if you're doing an owner finance deal, you go get the owner finance checklist and you just follow the checklist. Do your next step, like I preach.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the point that I'm trying to make, is the third module is how to outsource. Mm-hmm. How to get VAs and stuff to do this.
Oh, okay.
You are not going to believe me, but I've proven this to myself over and over and over again. The first person that you should hire is an admin person. We call it an admin secretary.
Yeah.
And that person goes through the system and checks and makes sure everything is getting done. Are the appointments being made? Are the phone calls being made? Are the texts going out? The admin person is the first person. Most people hire the VA to do the texting and the phone calls first.
Yep.
The administrative secretary, and I don't mean secretary like a girl with a skirt on, it's a position, right? So the admin person is the most vital person. Even in our business, you and I, we had a VA working, and you were doing the admin stuff, and it's every day you had something to do because somebody missed something.
Yep.
It's incredible, but nobody talks about that because it's not sexy.
Yeah, but that's to me it's the vital part, because there's so many moving parts. You want to collect the important things.
Right.
And don't lose the important leads.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's do my little checklist. Actually, use this checklist, which it's not written for you. I have not written for you, so this is the only place it is. So you should write it down, right? I'm just going to buzz right through it. So you use this when you're stuck, or if you're not making money. Right. Number one. Look for any deals you've done before, and match the 3 points that we spoke of earlier. Right? So those 3 points are...
And this is for the deals you have done.
Yeah, if you've done a deal.
Yeah, so you're looking... Yes, but you're looking for what happens successfully, right?
Right. So you want to look at how much, how was the outflow? How did you get the deal? What was the outflow? How did it come in? What marketing did you use? How did you get the lead?
Yeah.
Right? Number 2, what was the offer? How was it balanced? How did it look? Why did the seller say yes? Why did the buyer say yes? And then look at any follow-up, because the thing that we talk about all the time is acquisitions. What we don't talk about is the sales process. Because with buyers, it works all the same. You still have to, it still works the same. You have to have outflow, you have to have a balanced offer, and you have to have follow-up. It works the same on both ends of the stick, right? So, so if you've done a deal, look at or evaluate how you did that, right? That's the first thing you're going to do.
That's really, really smart, though, because, see, we talk a lot about how you're screwing up all the time. But you have to really look at what is working to do that. So that's
right. So how did I do that first deal? And you need to dissect it a little bit so you can recapture those successful actions. Because what is the definition of success?
Doing more right things than wrong things.
There you go. And we need to go find out what were the right things, what were the wrong things, so we can do it again.
Very positive, Bill.
Okay. Number 2, if you've not done a deal yet, look at the 3 points: outflow, deal balance, and follow-up, and start the sequence in order. So if outflow is not happening, you fix that first. You don't do anything else. You call one person, call 2 people, call 3 people, right? Or contact. It's not even contact one person, then contact 2 people. So if today you contacted 1 person, tomorrow you contact 2. And then on Wednesday you contact 3. Right? If outflow is in other words, you have the outflow going, you're contacting people, then you need to take a look at the deal balance.
Yep.
How are the offers happening? Are the sellers asking too much? Or are you too low? So if the sellers are asking too much, you could have the wrong list. The wrong marketing list. You could change your marketing list. You have the wrong avatar. You have the wrong person to talk to. You could be marketing to the wrong people, to the wrong type of deal structure.
Yep.
Right? Or you need to go study what a slot deal is and just do slot deals.
Yeah, or find out how to give them their money some way. You know, if they're asking too much, well, is there a way I could do that?
Right.
And you always say you can do it if if you can add some time to it. Now, if they can't do that, they can't do that. But if they can wait, then we can give them money. So maybe that would work. But maybe there's a way to do it.
Right. Now, if your offer's too low, you're being way too conservative and you're fearful. And you're trying to make the deal in favor of you in case it screws up, the seller will pay for it. Well, the seller shouldn't pay for your education. You need to pay for your education.
Yeah.
So you're too fearful. So there's different, you got to balance these things out, right? So does that make sense to you? So it's like you go through this sequence. So you check your outflow first, then you check your deal balance, and then you check your follow-up.
I only have one question on that. If you sit down and to look at this, what if you had a couple of follow-ups that might work out sitting there? Could you just check those first so you don't lose them if it's real?
I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Which brings me to number 3. You look for the value of what is being done. Right? So if the outflow is going, what value are you giving your seller so you can repeat it? For example, if you're doing outflow, If you're doing, let me see. If you are doing outflow, is it giving you results? Right? Are you talking to sellers and giving offers?
So even if you don't buy the house, you have to at least be helpful with people. I mean, I've seen you work with sellers that you don't buy the house, it doesn't work out, but the last thing you say is, look, in this process, if you need help with anything, just call me, I'm glad to help. Because you're trying to add value or be valuable. It's not just, I bought the house, I made a bunch of money. How can you be valuable and helpful to the seller in some way?
Right. So I agree with you, but that's not what I'm talking about here. So what I'm saying is if you're doing outflow, is it giving you a good result? Are you getting inflow? Are people calling you back? No, that's not the product of outflow. Outflow is, are you giving offers? So you're outflowing. You're texting FSBOs for sale by owners or expired listings. Is that producing somehow, some way offers?
I got you.
Right? So you have to find out what is it valuable enough for you to keep doing this, because it's taking your time and your energy and your resources.
Yep.
So should you keep doing that, right? Or are you getting leads, talking to people, sending offers, but they're saying no all the time? So the problem isn't the outflow, the problem is the offers.
Yep.
Because the value dropped out at the offer section. Because it's outflow, deal balance, and follow-up. So the value was in at outflow. It dropped out at deal balance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that brings me to number 4. Look for deals that you have that have to be done or redone, which is what you're talking about. Right? So you look for deals. Example, you make a deal with a seller and don't sign docs, or they ghost you.
Yep.
This would be an unbalanced offer category, which also includes your scripts. So that maybe your scripts, when you're talking to your seller and doing the closing call, you're promising things. Like I said, if you've never done a deal before, you might promise things that you may not know you can or can't do because you've never done a deal before.
Yep.
Right? I skipped ahead because I misspoke, because I said this is different than what you were talking about. So let me go over that again. Look for deals that have to be redone.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're doing here is you're looking at the failed deals. And finding out why did they fail. Right? And then fix that. Because here's what happens. The human mind thinks in generalities very often, right? So what happens is you'll say, all my sellers want cash.
Yeah.
So I can't do a deal because I don't have cash. All my sellers are asking too much money. Right? That's what I got through the pandemic. Right? When the truth of the matter is, when you go back and start dissecting your failed deals, like you sent them an offer and they didn't sign it, you're going to find one thing's out, not all 10 things. Just one thing, not all 10.
That's all it takes.
It's always the small pieces that you need to fix, not the big pieces.
Wow.
It's always the small pieces that you fix, not the big pieces. Okay? And then we go to number 5, which is what you were talking about. Find a deal that can be done.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
Rocky just stopped me in my tracks. Like I was doing 100 miles an hour and I just hit a brick wall. Rocky says, "You're stealing all my excuses." Okay, so number 5, find a deal that can be done and insist or do everything in your power to get that deal done. This is why lately I preach so much about signing an option agreement or doing a slot deal. Because those are easy deals and they get you experienced. you can get experience of the procedure by doing these deals. You can see the pitfalls, how the seller will react to certain things.
Yep.
Know your strengths and your weaknesses. You keep, what is the definition of success? Doing more of the right things, less of the wrong things.
Yep.
So what do you do with success? I mean, what do? You're going to, when you see success, you just keep doing those things. When you see the one thing that's bad, which is why we do number 4, because you're going to dissect your failed leads or your failed offers or your failed outflow. You're going to dissect that because it's the simple thing. It's the one simple thing. I'll give you a classic example, being a very professional marketer, meaning I've spent a lot of money on marketing.
You're right.
I used to spend $7,000 to $9,000 a month on marketing. Okay? And here's the number one thing that would happen over and over and over and over and over again, and I'd be goddamned if I could never fix it.
Wow.
You put an ad together, you release it, you spend all this money, and it's the wrong damn phone number.
Oh, Jesus.
Happens all the time. Phone number gets inverted, you miss it on the proof. Nowadays, when I'm reading a proof, I go to the call to action and test it. But that's because I've spent probably, definitely tens of thousands of dollars in making that mistake. Maybe maybe hundreds of thousands. So
no, we have letters going out, and we're revamping stock letters and putting our information in them. And I got to be real careful. My wife's no dummy when she does this stuff, but every company has this thing called qual or editor, proofreader. You need to check. Mary, go back. You forgot. You got the other name in there. You got to put my name in there.
So that's
one
kind of
thing.
odd you say that, because what I've been doing lately with copywriting, so there's a lot of software right now that you can have somebody, they have it's called AI, which is artificial intelligence, right? So I have software that you could put a script into a software and a human voice will read it for you, like for a video, like to make a video.
Yeah.
I use it that way sometimes, but you know what I use it for? I put my sales copy in it, and I have different sometimes Australian girls, sometimes American guy, and I have them read it back to me. Just for what you're talking about, to proofread it so I can hear what it sounds like. Wow. I used to have my wife or my kids read it to me.
Yeah.
My father-in-law used to spend the summer here, and I used to have him read it to me. When we were at night, he would read it to me.
That's great. I never knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's part of copywriting. So, all right. So seeing the pitfalls and how the seller will react has a lot to do with it. All right. So do just one deal like this, and I promise you, you will know exactly what you need and want to study and learn to do. Okay. So I put a link in the chat. The link is for my 10-part course, which is free. You can go get that. Or you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, and it's the number 5, the letter K, and then webinar is the new, because I talked about it today, is the new checklist course. It's not a course, it's the checklist on how to do it. You can go there and see that if you want. Okay? So please listen to this podcast a couple times, write down the things, and you can go through here and you can unbug or unsnag or get going or find out where all the stops are and get rid of them. Okay? So thank you for listening. Thank you for all your support. And we will talk to you on episode number 339. Over and out.
3 times 3 is 9.
There you go.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.